my Doberman, an aversive would have been puddles. He hated puddles. He would do anything in his power to avoid stepping in a puddle. So for him, puddles were the worst things in the world. Does it mean that the puddles were harmful? No, just for him, it was something he wanted to avoid. Yes, today on the podcast, we are talking about, the dreaded word no, and how no is not the enemy of enemies when it comes to building communication with your dog. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. You ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels, like you're stuck in analysis paralysis, trying to figure out the right next move for your dog, but instead you're just standing there, staring, thinking, I have no idea what to do next? If that sounds familiar, I want to invite you to join me inside the Fearless Framework. This isn't about perfection. It's not even really about training in a traditional sense. It's about understanding your dog at a deeper level so that you can stop second guessing and start building real confidence for both you and your dog. Inside, we're going to break down the myths that have been holding you back, the ones that make you feel like you have to choose between being positive and being a leader. You'll finally have a clear path forward. You'll see your dog differently, and maybe, just maybe, you'll start to see yourself differently too. Let's stop spinning. Let's start connecting. Join me in the Fearless Framework, where you can be the reason and the reward in your dog's life. Go to beyondobedience.ca/fearless to find out more, and I'll see you there, my friend. Well, hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome to Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Super duper welcome if you're brand new. If someone has sent you to the podcast, told you to come check it out, I am so glad that you are here joining us today. Today's a great topic, one that I think needs to be talked about a little bit more. And the reason for it is because it is, in my opinion, one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to living harmoniously with our dogs. And that is this idea of correction / punishment / negative reinforcement / the word no, right? And I really think no gets a bad rap. It really does. And I wanted to talk about it today. It came up for me just because while I try to avoid dog training forums and the like, I have been following one particular trainer, and full disclosure, I really like this guy. I really, really like this guy. He's a great trainer, great behavioralist. He was doing I think it was a 3-day thing. I missed some of it, but I ended up catching the last day, which was obviously when he was talking about sort of next steps with working with him. And one of the things that he said that really stuck out for me was this idea that, and I thought it was funny because he said aversive trainers are out there screaming about the results that they're getting, even though we know that they can't get those results. And there was a couple things that stuck out for me. First of all, bold statement. Bold statement. The first thing I thought was, who's an aversive trainer? Like, who's out there being like, I'm an aversive trainer? Nobody's advertising that. I don't know who these aversive trainers are, but I think I understand what he was talking about. He was talking, I believe, more about balance trainers, the ones that talk about the fact that they do use all types of equipment, and they will use positive punishment or negative reinforcement as part of their training regime. And when people hear that, especially the word punishment or negative reinforcement, we, for some reason, will think of it not in the actual clinical terms in which it was meant to be taken at, but we will look at it as almost like punishment means abuse. Aversive means punishment and abuse. And I think we need to sort of, I'm going to say, we need to get over it. We need to really start to understand this, and we need to get over it. And we need to stop. I mean, if in a perfect world, I wish we would just stop arguing with one another. That's what I would love more than anything. It's my middle child in me coming out, just being like, why can't we all just get along? But, a quick definition, if you don't know, aversion is a desire to avoid something. That's it. So an aversive is anything the dog wants to avoid, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's harmful. So for my Doberman, an aversive would have been puddles. He hated puddles. He would do anything in his power to avoid stepping in a puddle. So for him, puddles were the worst things in the world. Does it mean that the puddles were harmful? No, just for him, it was something he wanted to avoid. So in behavioral terms, it would be like a stimulus that an animal works to avoid, but it doesn't mean that it's punishment, painful, or hurt or harmful in any way. It's just what they try to avoid. And believe it or not, leash pressure is aversive. Blocking movement is aversive. Withholding attention is aversive to some dogs, right? Every dog's different how they see the world, but we really need to make sure that we're understanding what that means. I will tell you, this would have been many, many years ago, but one of the first seminars that I went through for horses, the instructor there wanted to show us how challenging it is to try to develop communication with another species that doesn't speak our language. So it was a really cool exercise. He sent one member of the audience out. It was before the horses were in. He sent one member of the audience out. He asked another member to join them down in the arena part. And he set up this quick little obstacle course, which is with some cones and stuff like that. And he said, here's what I want you to get the person to do when they come in. I want you to get them to go around this corner, or around this cone, and then over this jump, and then around here, and then sit down on the chair. And he said, but here's the caveat to that. The only thing that you can do to accomplish this is when the person gets the right answer, you're just going to rhythmically tap on their shoulder with this empty 2-liter bottle of pop. And if they aren't getting it right, you're just going to stand there. So when they get it right, you're going to tap on their shoulder. When they get it wrong, you're just going to stand there. And none of us in the audience were allowed to say anything. And so, long story short, they bring this person in, and, this person has no idea what we're doing at all. Doesn't know that we're doing anything at all. Just comes in and is like, what's going on? And nobody's saying anything. And so it took forever for this person to even start to go. It basically, lots of crazy things happened. First of all, the person that didn't know what was going on did start to get angry, which was very interesting to observe. Like, they were like, what is happening? Why is nobody talking? Like, this is stupid. Like, they were getting really upset. Then they started to move, and the other person with the pop bottle started tapping them, and then was tapping them when they got the right answer or the right direction or the right thing. Now, eventually, they did start to understand that the tapping meant that was right, and then started offering up behaviors. But it took forever. And the whole point of the demonstration was to show us, one, how frustrating it is for the different species to not be given any idea of what it is, like, without much direction. And also how long it took when we didn't include the no, when we didn't let them know that this was wrong. It's like playing the game of hot and cold, but you don't tell them when they're cold and you just stare at them, right? You're just waiting for them to get the right answer. So it was a really interesting demonstration. And again, this was something that we did for horses, and it was trying to understand, how we can, give horses both yes and no. The no doesn't mean that it's mean. The no doesn't mean that it's punishment. It literally is just the other side of yes. And the reality of it is that the no gives more value to the yes, right? It's that whole yin and yang thing. Like our days of sadness are what bring us more joy in the days when we don't have the sadness, right? If you live in a world of constant yes, eventually that loses its value. So it's important that our dogs understand both yes and no. And there's lots of language traps around us and words that scare us. So words like correction and punishment, negative reinforcement get demonized. And many trainers and owners fear using the word no, right? Because we've been told, don't say no. Don't disagree with the dog's behavior. Just wait till the dog offers you up the behavior you want and then reward that. But disagreeing is just disagreeing, right? If it's not positive, it's bad. That's not reality. In reality, dogs crave clarity, right? They don't want this confusion wrapped up in cheerfulness. That's not what they want. So you can't have a good yes without a good no. Dogs learn through that contrast. No is just information. It's not intimidation. Right? And it's the importance of having that feedback. So examples of no can mean, redirecting inappropriate behavior or calmly removing access to something. That's an aversive, right? So leadership for me equals good communication. And good communication means that we are letting our dogs know what we're agreeing with and what we're disagreeing with. And I've mentioned this so many times in the past, but I talk a lot about the fact that a disagreement in my family and with my pack now looks like just me going, don't do that, right? What you're doing right there, don't do that. No, don't do that. And it's not even, they don't even skip a beat with it. They're just like, oh, okay, I can't have that. Whatever you're doing right now, don't do that. Come do this instead. Okay. And when we avoid the no, often or over rewarding or ignoring bad behavior can create a ton of confusion. What happens for dogs when we give them sort of no feedback is that they will either one, and I've mentioned this before, remember, if you offer them nothing, if you say nothing, they're going to think it's okay. They offer up a behavior. Their question is that okay? If you say nothing, they're going to be like, that must be okay. Right? And so it ends up creating this confusion, or the dog will try so many other behaviors trying to figure out what's the right behavior, right? What's the right behavior? So I want you to sort of reframe this idea that not only is no, it's not harmful, it's informative, right? It actually helps them create natural boundaries, and dogs thrive in those when they understand them. Now, here is the other side of this, and this is part of the myth, or not the myth. It's part of the thing that we probably don't understand. If you are somebody that is using no, yes and no in your life, I will say that our tendency is to use no more often than we use yes. There are so many opportunities in the day for you to agree with your dog's behavior. And we silently agree with things. We kind of go, oh, look at how good my dog's being. We don't necessarily go out of our way to say, yeah, good job. Good, thanks for checking in. We miss those kind of opportunities. So if you are someone who's like, oh, I don't like saying no to the dog, just try to find other moments in your day to find the yeses. Where are the yeses in the days? I try to get at least, 10 times the yeses to my no's, so that when I say no, it does stand out to them. I know, like I might have already mentioned this story, but there was one client and she thought it was hilarious. But when I came to do her in-home assessment and I knocked on the door and there was all the barking and whatnot, and all I heard was, no, 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 bad dog, no, 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 bad dog, over and over and over again. And I came and I said, so this must be your dog. No, no, bad dog. And she said, no, no, bad dog. And I said, yeah, this must be your dog. No, no, bad dog. Because I heard you saying, no, no, bad dog. And she laughed hysterically. And then it was the ongoing joke. She would call me up for boarding and stuff. And she'd be like, hey, do you have room for no, no, bad dog today? We kind of made a joke about it, but she did see my point, is that, especially if you're someone who's dealing with a lot of behaviors and you are saying no a lot, you're probably standing there going, I say no all the time to my dog, Tracy, and it's still not working. Remember that contrast is a contrast for a reason. So if you find yourself in a world of no right now, then I want you to take the opposite approach here and look for the moments where you can say yes. And there are many, many moments where we can say yes. There's so many moments where we can say yes to the dog, because the idea here is to create that contrast. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. And when you have that contrast, your no can be the most quiet, softest thing in the world. And one final thought, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, about no, is for those of us that have had the experience of trying to not say no, for those of us who have been like, okay, I'm going to try to only reinforce the good and ignore the bad, I will say that the problem with that is that eventually you are going to lose your cool. You're going to lose your cool. You're going to lose your mind, because we are human. We seem to forget that, I think, a lot of people. I think we forget that we're human and we're prone to make mistakes, and we're emotional beings as well. And we have thresholds of stress and all of those other things. And the problem with telling people to not say no to their dog is that we will go a good long time, especially while they're puppies and they're small. We'll be like, oh, they're puppies and they're cute and whatnot. And then they hit adolescence and they start to really test everything. And they're really pushing our buttons. And eventually, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose our mind, and we're going to end up yelling and screaming, and we're going to shout no. And it's going to come out of left field to the dog, right? It's going to come out of left field. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, you've never said anything like that. And it's going to come out of frustration and anger and all of that thing. And the dog is going to be like, I can't trust you. You're insane. And that's what ends up happening. And we all do it. I've not met a client, and I always have that. I can always tell when I'm going to get the confession, right? I always get the confession, and it becomes this very quiet, solemn thing where the owner will be like, I'm not proud of this, but this is what happened. And I normalize it because I'm like, to you and everyone else, like, we're people and we make mistakes, and I get frustrated too. And it happens. But when we have dogs that we've worked so hard to protect them from this idea of the negative, of saying no, when that happens, not if, it's when that happens, we lose a boatload of trust with that dog, because they're like, well, you've never freaked out like this before. You've never done that before. And now we have a trust void that we have to work through. So I'm hoping that this has given you permission, not only permission, but also encouraged you to start to incorporate yes and no into your daily conversation with your dog. Things that are like, nope, get out of this room. Nope, don't touch that. Yes, look what you did there. Yes, you can do that. Yes, you're a good dog. Really trying to find that contrast of yes and no to clarify the communication for the dog, because no isn't the enemy. Confusion is. You're not being mean. You're actually communicating and being somebody worth following to a dog. Okay? I hope that helps. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me, leave me a message, send me an email, jump on into the Living Beyond Obedience free Facebook group and post your questions or your comments over there. Or better yet, if you're someone that's like, I would like to hang out more with people like this that understand dogs this way, that are looking to better themselves, to learn how to be a better person for their dog, I want to invite you again to come on over to the Fearless Framework. That's my online program where we meet once a month via Zoom. You get this incredible community to post your questions and to share your wins and your losses and all of those things, your yeses and your nos, all of those things happen inside that incredible community. Come on over and join us over there. It's at an incredible price right now. And you can do that by going to beyondobedience.ca/fearless to check out more information. And I would love to see you inside that community. All right, I think that's it for me for today. As always, get out there today, my friend, and be the person that your dog thinks you are. Because your dog thinks that you're amazing, and so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only, and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with dangerous behavior with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.